one. Welcome to another edition of KitSZN. We have another fun interview lined up for y'all here tonight. But before we do that, Fox, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Busy day, planning to get the boy's birthday. It was their birthday yesterday, and we're having the party Saturday, which is my birthday. So that's not fair. But you know how it goes.
Oh, happy early birthday from myself and all of us, KitSZN for this weekend, as well as your twins. Hopefully that they're not too much trouble this weekend.
Nah, we went to the zoo. They were just part of the monkey exhibit. How it happens.
And Frank is good that they enjoyed the zoo, and Frank immediately noticed the watermelon. So
my wife won this.
Yes.
Like it was like my size. My wife won it from throwing like those beanbags at the 3 blocks on the table. You know how you have to knock all 3 of them off the table? Yeah, she won.
I love that. I love free stuff. So good on her for winning. Speaking on good on is all these lovely people down below who are lovely patrons who love us and support us to allow us to do things that we're doing here today, such as interviewing some really cool person and some of these unique opportunities that present themselves. So shout out to everyone down below who allows us to do this, because we wouldn't be sitting here with a large plushy watermelon talking to someone here tonight if it weren't for y'all. So and I'm not saying their names, Frank. So but yeah, without fiddling around too much, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you our guest here from Westchester SC, and kind of have some fun conversation around what they recently released here yesterday. So welcome to the show, Mason Asphar.
Hey guys, how we doing? Thanks for having me.
We are doing fantastic.
So thanks for having us.
Thanks for allowing us to talk with you about this. And also, before we dive into it, we will dive into the kits that we're here to talk about, which I'm really excited how it looked last night. And congrats on beating your inner city rivals.
Thank you, sir.
Last night.
Yeah, thank you. Great result. Yeah, exactly. The New York Cosmos.
Yes. So Mason, obviously, you worked here. You worked there at Westchester SC. Can you kind of just give a quick little breakdown? I know people we talk with tend to have a lot of hats. So just kind of briefly, what's your role there at Westchester?
Yeah. No, I've had a few in my day. Kit designer was never one of the main ones. I started off as a partnership strategy coordinator, and for the last, 8 to 10 months, I've been the director of partnerships here. And it's been so much fun. I pride myself on, working with great partners and introducing them to, what we're doing and what we're creating. I always tell people, when an ad doesn't feel like an ad, that's one of my favorite things in the world. So that's kind of what drew me into partnerships. And I love working with people and, helping share our story and connecting brands to the fans in the area. Again, has nothing to do with jersey design. But recently, a couple months back, I became the director of partnerships and brand as well. I do a lot of brand work for the club. And then this opportunity arose and I took it. And here we are today.
And I will say, even as it wasn't on your cards here, you definitely came out a little bit swinging on this kind of fun design, which we will dive into a little bit more. Which I will just say from just my perspective, it's a kind of off-white kit with a blue collar. I love it. It has trains. We love trains on the show, so we appreciate that.
I'd love to hear it.
So, as you said, you weren't really expecting to kind of do kit design. You've already kind of mentioned you had a few roles that you've done. Kind of tell us how your journey got to where you're at here today at
Totally.
Westchester.
Yeah. So I grew up on the East Coast in Fairfield County, Connecticut. So the county just east of Westchester.
Okay.
And then I went to college on the West Coast. I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, right on the Central Coast. I was a communications major at a liberal arts school. So there's some parallels there with being a partnerships guy making jerseys. You know, you can't really put me into one box. But soccer's always been my main sport. I'm one of the biggest Spurs fans you'll ever meet. That doesn't start any controversies here. But no, I'm graduated, came back to the East Coast a few years ago. And, you know, I knew I wanted to work in sports, preferentially, you know, preferably, I should say, in partnerships. But I didn't really know how that window would come to be. And when I was graduating school, my senior project was focused on fandom and the psychology of fandom and what it means to be a fan, and, you know, the different motivations for individual fanship, whether it's, you know, just where you live and supporting your hometown club, whether that's, you know, aesthetics, whether that's achievement, whether that's the fact that watching a certain team is an escape. And I did tons of research on it. I was very intrigued, but that was still not going to land me a job anytime soon. And, you know, not a day of college did I think like an entrepreneur. And then a couple months out, when I realized how freaking hard it is to get a job, I had to, you know, pivot. And so on the side, I created this concept called Taught in America, which, you know, kept that fandom going. And, you know, I'm largely a big motivation for me is, you know, half the time a Yank is talking about footy, a Brit is turning their ear the other way because, you know, they opinion invalid. But I'm here to say that, you know, there is a lot of true soccer fandom that needs a light shown on it here in the States. So I had this whole idea of Taught in America, and it was this whole experiential marketing company about unifying the 150 plus supporters clubs where Spurs fans gather across the states, and, you know, giving them a platform and whatnot.
Oh,
well.
Okay, Mason's back on. I don't know what happened. Mason, you all good on your side?
I'm all good. Yeah. No. Anyways, so Taught in America was my $1 million idea. And funny enough, I was connected with someone who might be a sort of angel investor, if you will. And is a man named John Goldman, who, if you don't know, he's the president of Westchester Soccer Club. And I met him at a Starbucks one day, and I was a couple minutes into my $1 million idea. He's like, yeah, I don't know about this, but Westchester Soccer Club, ever heard of it? No. But it's my local pro soccer team. And so he invited me to come check out a match. I met Mitch Berukowitz, the principal owner of the club. And the next week, I should say, I started day one and never looked back. So, you know, you never know where the road takes you, but I'm glad it brought me back home, supporting and working for my local pro soccer team.
I love that. Just from just a random coffee interaction, just suddenly, hey, a week later, I'm working at essentially in the front office of a team.
Yeah. And a lot of fun for me, just because it means a lot as someone who's a proud Connecticut citizen. We don't have a sports team. We never had one. And I'm not saying, I think there's a lot of parallels between Fairfield County, where I grew up, and Westchester County. Yeah. Both in terms of, you know, I think Westchester as a whole has been taken for granted for so many years. You know, it's 1 million people there, but they just sweep them into the New York sports crowd, or New Jersey, I should say. And, you know, that's 1 million people who've never had something to call theirs. And I love what the USL stands for, and, you know, putting teams in these smaller markets where there might not be a team of any kind that exists. And, you know, it's all about, you know, hyper local. And I always tell people, you know, we're not another New York sports team. We're Westchester's first. And it's an honor to be building something for the millions of people that, you know, now have their own team here in Westchester.
Yeah. And I definitely noticed, since you do some, you know, you say you're part of that branding and telling that local story. Yes, when I've been taking peek at some of the branding and also some of the kits released this year, and just overall the messaging, it really is like, hey, we're Westchester. We're not an offshoot of New York. Like, yes, we're in the region of New York City, but we are Westchester. And especially as I noticed with the away kit, I think, the away kit, which is called the corner of the county kit. And you're like honing in on that message. That's like, hey, this is us. We're not just an offshoot of New York.
Totally.
Yeah. So I want to commend you on that. I love when clubs be able to do that because, as you said, there's a lot of nuances to each community that maybe never have had a platform before.
Absolutely. And I know we'll discuss it, when we dive further into the kit, but it was all about, yes, when I was told I can create a jersey, obviously I want to make something beautiful that any soccer purist would love. Right. But at the same time, it's about telling our story. And that's where the brand side of what I do really came out. And it had to be something from the start. It had to be something that spoke directly to Westchester. And then, if people loved it internally, if our folks loved it, then the masses will love it and that'll take care of itself. But it wasn't about creating some beautiful thing to please the world. It was about looking inwards and how do we continue to tell Westchester's story.
Exactly.
That's how you please the world, honestly. Like, in my eyes, like, I feel like so many teams, you said they're doing like these general kits trying to make something beautiful for everybody. Like, no, make something beautiful for your area and everybody will love it.
Exactly. And that's a lot of the reaction we've gotten so far. I mean, I know it's only been about 24 hours, but it's been so fun to see some people, or so many people who might not even be soccer fans, but they see these 3 train lines and, it speaks to them. Absolutely. And then with that, you also see people from all over the country and even the world. I saw in some random like Twitter comment section, someone was like, need these in the UK. Maybe they're from New York and they understand the lines. Maybe they don't. I don't know, but that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
They just mind the gap. Who knows?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that is one of the beauties of what's one of the things that we love here on KitSZN is telling stories through kits. And that's one of the epitomes of it is every community, every club has this story and it can be shown in multiple ways onto a simple kit because people don't always understand the power that kit represents and how it can kind of, as you mentioned, someone from the UK might want a kit from Westchester County, New York, right there, and no one would bat an eye. It's just normal.
Yeah. And that story is being told across the world now.
Yes.
Like, what kit is that? What is that? Oh, you never heard of Westchester, my favorite USL team?
Exactly.
So, you mentioned you wanted to keep this hyper local. You want to do something that represents the people of Westchester. So, how did you land on using the rail lines? And I will pull up a map of the MTA Metro North up there.
Yeah, so for any viewers who haven't seen it, I guess I'm a little too zoomed in, but I don't know. You can see a little bit of it. But anyways, when I was given this opportunity, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I had to create something that spoke to Westchester.
Yes.
And I'm not even from Westchester. I'm from Fairfield County, which isn't too different, but it's in a different state. And, I didn't know a lot of the nuances that come with living in the county. Yeah. But even Fairfield County, like, Westchester Soccer Club is for Fairfield County in the way, and Rockland and Putnam County and the Bergen County, the surrounding counties, because there's a whole audience that, as I mentioned earlier, kind of gets swept under the rug. But anyways, when I had to think of what is something that truly speaks to Westchester, that was not the easiest problem to solve and question to answer. We got when I think of Westchester and Connecticut in general, I think of like traffic and like tons of trees and ponds and lakes, and we're all in the woods over here, but at the same time it's so dense with so many people, a lot of which commute into the city, a lot of which just commute throughout the counties. I live in Stamford, Connecticut, and I take the train to the Harrison station a couple days a week, so there's a lot. It's not to be a commuter in this area isn't just going to New York City. There's so many people who rely on the train lines. And I figure, a big thing in Westchester is, you know, the 48 municipalities. We're a county. That's one of the interesting nuances that comes with it. We're not repping one city or one state. We're repping 48 different, you know, towns and villages. So how do you connect them all?
Right.
And you know, the train lines, man, they run through the whole county, whether you're a New Haven line person, Harlem line, Hudson line, nearly every single town in Westchester is connected through these 3 lines. And, you know, it kind of became a no-brainer eventually. I remember months and months before I even had this opportunity, one of my old coworkers, Phineas, we would go back and forth about, oh, if we had the chance to design a shirt, like what would we do? And, you know, we've seen what other clubs have done in terms of something that really speaks to what they stand for. And, you know, a couple examples like Vermont Green, we envy a lot of what they do. And, you know, we kind of fanboy it over them, whether it's sustainability related concepts or just, you know, really honing green from a sponsorship perspective. When I saw they partnered with Yerba Madre, genius, just makes sense, ties into their identity. Portland with their, you know, the lighthouse kits. It was, you know,
on point.
It just makes sense. And it doesn't have to make sense to everybody, but it makes sense to those people.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity arose, it didn't take too long to really settle in on the train lines idea. But then the partnership side of me instantly was like, okay, now we got to get Metro North on board. And they helped us with the rollout and everything on socials, and it's been great working with them. And suddenly this little idea became, you know, much bigger.
Yeah, and as you noticed here in some of the promo shots that you shared, thanks by the way,
absolutely,
these were taken there on essentially the platforms of these, you know, various stations across all 3 of these different lines. And so you see what just someone would look like wearing this on a station like that. As you said, this would probably be what someone would be wearing either to match day or just, as you know, I think the press release said, just every day.
Yeah.
You kind of got the picture of that, and that's probably due to that little bit of that partnership with them, right?
Totally. And that was you bring up another good point about part of the whole look and feel of the kit was there has to be a lifestyle element. Like, I want to see people, this might not mean anything to you, but there's a, you know, at Brazen Fox, which is a really popular bar in White Plains in Westchester, I want to see people on a Thursday night in line outside wearing the kit. Yes, I want to see people at Memorial Field too, but this is a lifestyle. I want to see people commuting in their commuter kit. Like, this is a lifestyle piece and meant to be worn in various different settings. So yeah, no, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I always like it when kits strive for not just, as you said, that lifestyle, but it also has a little bit of that detail that ties it somewhere. And as I also noted on the right sleeve, there's the gold apple, that little, that golden apple, which apparently is that's a nickname for Westchester County.
Yeah, it's lesser known. Full transparency, I did not know about it until I joined the club. But yes, everyone knows, you know, New York's the Big Apple, but I think for years and years, Westchester has been considered by not all, but by many, to be the golden apple. So we've kind of leaned in very hard to that. I will say, I have mixed opinions when I rewatch our broadcast and the commentators refer to us as the Golden Apple. You know, it's not our team name, but it is, you know, a component of Westchester County in general. So it is part of our identity. We want to lean into it, and especially with the 914, which is the Westchester area code. You know, that's kind of been a staple on jerseys. And shout out to, you know, the 914th Infantry, our supporters group, who are with us through thick and thin, every match, home and away. They bring the energy, and, you know, this was a piece for them to take ownership of as well.
Yeah, and as you met, you know, as we look at, you know, those images, which, by the way, it's called the Commuter Kit for those who aren't aware. You learn those little details. You learn, hey, you now know the area code. Why do you need to know it? No one knows, but now we know it. Now we learn the nickname.
And you know, we're not another New York sports team. There's a team in Westchester. Oh, what's Westchester? Well, start studying. Look at the shirt. There's 3 lines going through it, and there's plenty more people in there. So yeah.
Yeah,
Same
and that
with the
yeah.
area codes. Like I feel like that's something that's always like hyper local because like whenever I'm from Louisville, so it's always like, oh, we're from the 502. What's up? So everybody is like, oh, you're from the 859. How's Lexington doing? Okay, cool.
Exactly.
So like I get that 100%. Like I love any time that they throw in those area codes. Now St. Louis, now we have 2, and that's confusing. But
yeah. New York's got how many? I don't know, but if you say 914, everyone knows. At least in these parts, everyone knows what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. And same with like kind of, this whole, I kind of said this as we talked about the Westchester County Kit. I think it was last week. The corner of the county kit. Both of these just feel like, just purely aesthetically, as something that I've never been to Westchester, but I just got that vibe that it fits in Westchester. Is that kind of something that's, I know you said it's something you want everybody to wear in off-season to go into the bars or to take on their commutes to New York City, but is that kind of actually intentional to like everyday people, like fits the vibe?
Absolutely. And there's some people like yourself who you like trains.
I like trains.
Awesome. Here's a kit for you. Like, you don't have to know Westchester. Granted, you learn part of our story and what we stand for by this kit, but it really is, as I'll keep hammering it home, it's a lifestyle piece that can kind of fit anybody. And the color, the base color, we didn't want that to dominate the show because the tracks tell the story. But at the same time, look, off-white, this is one of my favorite colors to wear out. So, but I wanted it to be neutral. It wasn't going to be white because we have the corners of the county kit. I didn't want to do anything, too dark, like gray or anything darker than that. So it kind of became a no-brainer here just to make it, as neutral as possible, but at the same time, hyper-local and hyper-specific to Westchester.
Yeah. And I always, as a train person myself, I always, as being in Indianapolis, where I'm kind of starved of my train needs. So when I do get to go on a train, I always love them and I appreciate it. So I always love wearing kits that have a nod to trains. And I think, as you said, it kind of has a little bit of everything for everybody, but it's still Westchester's story. And I think that's the important thing at the root of all of this, or in case of the Golden Apple, the core of this entire design.
Well, I like that. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, absolutely. It's leaning into what the league stands for. Hyper local. That is such a buzzword and most definitely the most commonly used word in our office. It's telling our story and then it'll catch on. We're looking internally to then build externally. We're not just trying to check all the boxes to look like, a startup soccer team. We're trying to tell our story the way it's meant to be told. Yes. And then who cares what happens after that, honestly? This is something for Westchester. Westchester's never had this before, so it's an honor to be, in an authorship role telling our story.
Yeah, and as you kind of mentioned that, obviously you're creating a kit that is telling a story, and Westchester, the team itself is young. I think it's 2 or 3, 4 years.
Yeah, we're halfway through our second season.
Yeah, that's right. Second season. How does it feel to not just be a part of that pioneer and adventure, like that like essentially almost like a startup, but like you're starting a brand new chapter for the county?
Yeah.
How does that feel to be a part of that?
I know I'm not offended if you're going to say we're a startup sports team, because that's exactly what we are. We own that. It's great. And sort of to chime off what I said earlier, growing up, I never had a local team. In Connecticut, I guess there's more Boston sports fans than New York, but there's a kind of a split between, Pats and Jets and Giants, whatnot, if we're talking American football. But I never had a hometown team. All the professional sports teams I support are all over the place, other than the Mets, I guess. But, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. Above all, Tottenham Hotspur is my club, is my professional sports team. But, when I was a basketball fan, I rooted for the Portland Trailblazers just because I never had something to call my own. And now I do. And, to understand how other fans can relate to that, we're giving them a sense of purpose. And as I mentioned earlier, what I came across in my college research was, one motivation for fandom obviously is, your local team. But a lot of people in this area, from a soccer perspective, never had that. So they had different motivations to look elsewhere. But now, Westchester on the national level is a soccer hotbed in terms of passion and elite youth talent on the nation. We are on that map very clear. So, to be able to try to, break into this community and really gives them something that's theirs, and it's amazing. And I'm so happy and grateful to be in the position I'm in, because frankly, my job is one of the most perfect job descriptions I could ever have for myself. It matches every interest I have. I'm a very passionate guy, if you can't tell. And, I kind of like seeing, where everything takes me. And I'm so happy to be here and, to be authoring this sort of story for our fans and for the next generation of soccer, especially in a World Cup year, when there's going to be there's going to be a mass influx of new fans. And yes, a lot of them will be picking their, the Madrids and the Liverpools and cities of the world. But at the same time, we're hoping, the percentage of those that start turning their heads and looking locally, picks up, and knowing that they have a team in their backyard, and no, they don't have to drive to Harrison, New Jersey, or go into the city to see an MLS game. You've got, Westchester soccer clubs in your backyard. Nothing in Westchester is more than 30 minutes away from anything in Westchester. And, tickets start at $10, and you have this local pro sports team in your backyard. So all the more reason to just check it out.
Right. And, I know you say you're a Tottenham fan, but you also don't have to deal with people who had to wake up super early in the morning to watch a European side.
Oh my gosh.
You can still enjoy your
on the West Coast. I woke up at 4 a.m. for every Spurs match I could. But, exactly. Now it's, 7 p.m. on a Saturday. It's primetime soccer in Westchester. No one's ever uttered that phrase before, but now it's a thing. And now it's just about telling our story so that more people can be exposed to it.
Yeah, and you also mentioned how it has been a little bit of a lack of pro teams in New York City, of all places, where I thought that would have had more teams by now, just given the large population of that city, and just how it's built and how it's so diverse on the community basis. There aren't more teams, but now suddenly USL has 3 teams in Brooklyn, the Cosmos, and Westchester, and then, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, the 2 you have the New Jersey Red Bulls, I like calling them, and New York City FC. Yes, that kind of fits along that bigger narrative that you're saying, that more people are now having their own team. So what differentiates Westchester from this suddenly, I don't want to say overpopulated, but it's suddenly, 16 in the city?
No, it's a great question. And, I'll gonna lean back into the fact that there's over 1 million people that live in Westchester, in this tiny county that you can drive north to south in 30 minutes. And they've never had something to call theirs. And, we really, and as I also mentioned, the weight of the passion and talent at the youth level here. There's so many soccer families who candidly have been taken for granted for years. And, whether it's going on road trips and tournaments or wherever they have to go to catch professional soccer, they now have something in their backyard. We're the newest, biasedly the most fun, but also one of the most affordable, examples of family-friendly entertainment in Westchester, that you don't have to go into the city to have a fun night. You can stay right here in Westchester, come down to Mount Vernon, and check us out. We got free parking right across the street and tons of local vendors, and it's a great time. Everyone who stays 20 minutes after the final whistle gets autographs from their local pro players. And I just love what the USL stands for in general. And I know this doesn't really distinguish us from any other USL teams, but just the fact that I always say to partners, the USL is all about making pro soccer accessible. And specifically, I love the idea of, eliminating the barriers between fans and the field. And suddenly you have this pro soccer team in your backyard. Not only do you have to, watch them from the stands for $10, but you can get up real close. And when they score a goal, if you're in our VIP section and they score a goal, they're running by and they're giving you high fives and everything. You can be as close to, 5 feet off the field, which I hope is not like a USL league violation, but the proximity and the fan experience we're creating,
find out, right?
Like, I can't help but be happy and proud of it, and just encourage people to come check us out, because we're really building something that's a lot of fun and has never been replicated in Westchester, and frankly in greater New York. We're building a completely different product, and it's for, yes, our target market are the younger families, but everybody can be a soccer fan. It's the world's game. It doesn't discriminate in any capacity, and there's been a progression to our fan audiences and everything, and people are learning about us, but we can't stop now. We need to keep driving the exposure and keep telling our story.
Hey, well, you sold me a $10 tickets a while ago, so I may have to. My next time I hit up New York City, might have to hit up Westchester. Just saying.
Good, and as you'll see on the tag, if you're in the city, there's a specific tag on the shirt that says the city is closer than you think. Meaning, if you're in the city, Westchester is closer than you think. And may I say, Mount Vernon is on the southern border of Westchester, so it's literally a 27-minute train ride from Grand Central. So we have
that's so doable.
Right. We have, yes, we can tap into the Bronx and New York City, which we haven't really done because we are Westchester first in every decision we make. But at the same time, there are so many. There's 5 million people in a 30-minute radius, less than that. So we're on the outskirts of the biggest city in the world, but we're also one of the biggest counties in the country, and we're about telling that story.
Exactly.
To say, especially as a family of four, I got my twin boys, and I live around St. Louis, and they still haven't gone to an actual St. Louis City game. They've gone to a City 2 game, but I can't afford throwing down tickets for
parking, food. I bet it adds up. It always adds up. That's running you a couple $100s at the end of the day, and that's frankly nearly impossible at a Westchester soccer club match.
As a teacher, that's kind of hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a big part of what just to echo that, accessibility point. That's what we're all about. We're this team in your backyard. We do tons of pop-up community events throughout the county, which is something I've been very passionate about. Just in terms of, yes, we are close and you can get to us, but we'll also come to you. We are not just in Mount Vernon. We're popping up all over the county. And, I love working with our partners to create, community-oriented events just to connect fans, whether they are current fans or just new people who stumbled across us, with our players, with our story and everything we stand for.
Absolutely. And I think that is, you also mentioned, allowing fans to be able to be affordable. You're also not the club, which I appreciate, aren't releasing 3 kits in a season. You kind of carry it over the home, and then you just release the away, and just now have released a 3rd kit. As a kit collector, also someone who balls on a budget a little bit, I appreciate that approach. As I feel like it allows you to focus a little bit more, laser focus on that design being good and not just producing 3 in a season.
Oh yeah, and we would never want to take our fans for granted. This is a gift specifically to Westchester, and something that was so special. And when we arrived on this idea, and I discussed it with our higher ups and Mitch, our principal owner, throughout the design and production process. It just made sense. And I don't think we'll make 2 to 3. We'll definitely have 1 new kit next year, but it's all about we have to stay congruent with our mission and what we stand for. And you cannot ever take your fans for granted. You just have to spoil them whenever you can. And that's what we're trying to do at Memorial Field.
Yeah, I love
Speaking
that.
of the process,
we
found out earlier that you actually worked with one of our friends.
I did. One of your last hosts. Yes, it was fun when I was going through your channel, seeing the first video I saw was with Olivia Paul. And, I cannot take full credit for this idea in any capacity. I knew it was going to be the Commuter Kit. I knew it was going to be a cream color. I knew it was going to have a collar. I knew it was going to have the train lines going through it. But I'm honestly not comfortable. Brett, I thought about sending it to you, but the original design that I made in Canva, I did not go to art school. I was a liberal arts major at a polytechnic school. This is not my forte, but at the same time, I had the vision. I understand the people around me and what would really resonate with them. So huge props to Olivia and the whole team at Hummel. We absolutely love how it came out. I'd love to shine a little light on a tiny detail with both the Hummel badge, but our Infinity W monogram crest, is they're a 3D silicone ink layer, which is just, we're spicing it up a little. Yes, we want to keep them affordable, and we're not the Yankees or anything, but at the same time, we are Westchester. We got a little flair to ourselves, so we had to show that in some way.
Yes, as a crest porn nerd myself, I love 3D silicone type crests. I can literally just rub my for their crests for hours.
Totally. We were actually worried they might start falling off because a lot of the players will naturally pick at it during the game.
I'm glad I'm not alone in having that sensation.
No.
So how obviously, the fans are loving this. How are the players taken up to this? Are they enjoying something that is arguably very different looking compared to probably what they see else on the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking aesthetics, I haven't heard complaints yet. Maybe that's just whenever I'm in the room. But no, and a lot of our guys, not all of them, but a decent amount of our players, either grew up or went to school within a 50-mile radius of, Memorial Field. So, Ermin Makic, who we knew was going to be incorporated in the shoot, and somehow you see him at the Yonkers station. He's from Yonkers. He's grown up there. So, he's repping his hometown here. And they likes it a lot, I think. But just another thing I wanted to touch on, which that just reminded me of, is, a challenge with creating something for the county is, I don't want to sound too negative, but Westchester pride isn't a huge mainstream concept. Everyone reps their town. If you're from Rye, you love Rye and you hate Harrison. And if you're from Harrison, the feelings are mutual. But not many people outside of Memorial Field are ever going to feel the need to say, go Westchester. But we're trying to be, a unifying force. We're not playing favorites. Yes, we play in Mount Vernon, but we speak to the whole county. And I figured this is a concept that would resonate with the whole county. And in terms of a feel perspective, I heard some great feedback last night from some of the players when they were coming out of the locker room after the match. Granted, maybe they were just riding the high after a 3-0 win over your rivals, but and again, maybe just didn't want to say something negative to the guy that helped make them. But I've only heard positive things so far. And I did hear some specific compliments, or I guess just happy exclamations about the feel of the kit when they're out on the field, which is, at the end of the day, that is the most important feature. It's about them. Sports is about people. It's about the people on the field, the people in the stands, and the people behind the scenes making it happen. But emphasis on these guys on the field because they're creating the new show in Westchester. So if they're happy, I'm happy, and hopefully our fans are happy.
As we always say,
T-shirt at that point. But
if
you wanted to make it mean something, the players have to wear it. So
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and as we always say, when a player team feels good, they more than likely will play good.
And they sure as hell looked good in it too.
Right? I'm just saying it looked really good on live TV. I wasn't certain how the cream would pop out with the blue collar, but watching the match,
especially with the the white pattern underneath, which is essentially the train lines just repeated throughout. At first, honestly, shout out to Olivia and the Hummel team. We were working on a tight deadline, and we only had time for one sample to arrive in person, and because we knew we wanted to unveil it for this match against the New Jersey Cosmos, and as something that really speaks to New York. And so they sent us a sample, and yes, we had made a few tweaks, but the biggest one was the tint of the color. I didn't know how the pigment works and everything, but I guess it was on 100% of this cream tint at first, and because of that, you couldn't really see the white underlay, or overlay. I'm not a kid expert, but then she insisted that we tone it down a little bit, whether that was 85%, 90, 95. We didn't really know what the right answer was, but we also didn't have all the time in the world. So we went with a 90% tint. They sent us a picture from the factory where they're produced, and we said, hey, let's go for it. And it was a gamble, as are many things, in USL League One, and it turned out exactly how we wanted it. So very grateful for Hummel's help in making this happen, especially on such a tight deadline.
Yeah, and I'd also notice I do like the white underlay underneath all the main design. It adds a dance. We are people who love the devil in the details, and seeing that underneath it adds to it. Also, a thing that I noticed here, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but the blue line goes right in the middle there at the top.
It had to be intentional, right?
I mean, I did not manipulate the map at all. That's the Harlem line, which runs straight up the spine of Westchester County. So it truly is, it's our backbone. But yeah, when we thought about it and just, we knew then the collar would also have to be that sound blue.
Right.
But it's pretty damn satisfying to look at. I can't lie. I'm extremely happy with how the shirt turned out.
Yes, as am I. I think especially when you have three different colors with the blue, the red, and the green, being able to have all three simultaneously kind of have their own say on
totally, and at the same time keeping them balanced and not letting one dominate over the other. I mean, yes, I guess you look at it and you see a little more blue than the others with the collar, the cuffs, and Northwell, and the badges, but that we didn't want to deviate too much. Obviously, when you're making an alt kit, you're taking some gambles, but at the same time, we're still so early in our story, and that identity is slightly fragile. So we did want to make sure, in the right light, I suppose, or maybe the wrong light, the cream looks a bit yellow, or gold, I should say. And it's not, if you think about it, it's not that far off from our color palette, but at the same time, you don't think about Westchester. You think about the county, but you don't think about the soccer club exactly. When you see this, you think about the county in general. And so Metro North, they played a huge role in it. And their colors come through, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like some erratic design that came out of proportion. I really like the whole overall balancing of the kit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like it's still a Westchester soccer kit.
Yeah.
Because it still has that hard blue and stuff like that. Does it shout out to something else? Obviously, yes, but it's still to me when I see that, I'm like, oh, that's still Westchester blue. So
yeah, I love that. I'm glad. That's great feedback. I'm so glad, especially someone not from Westchester. I really appreciate you saying that.
I'll be completely honest. I've never heard of Westchester
until last season when they started.
There you go. And I'm sure there's plenty of people in that same boat. So yeah, it's all about. I'll keep echoing it. It's all about telling our story to our people. Yeah. And it catching on from there on, and we'll let that handle itself. But it's about getting our story right, which I think this kit was a great step in the right direction.
Exactly. And as you kind of mentioned earlier, you never envisioned yourself designing a kit, something especially at this magnitude. Oh hey, first time it's for a professional club. It's not even like an amateur level or like a rec league team on like Sundays. You're bam, professional team created. Has kits kind of always been something that you've had an interest in, at least as a fan perspective, going into this?
Totally. I mean, I don't think I'm a collector like yourself, but I mean, the Spurs lineup when they drop them at the beginning of the season will dictate the next year likely, and I know what they look like, and I have mixed opinions. But I mean, going back to what was it, the 2012-2013 season when we were with Under Armour and Gareth Bale. I can just picture Gareth Bale in that half gray, half black. That was my first. I mean, I had jerseys before that, but that was the first jersey that really meant something to me. And the club, I did some ad work for them. I made a few social ads for them a couple years ago, and they sent me their 92-93 retro away kit, the light blue, which I love. I also spent a few months in college living in Sevilla in Spain, and Real Betis became my. I know it's taboo to have multiple teams. I don't have that many, but they're definitely my second team. And so we have great friends at Classic Football Shirts down in the city, where you can actually see this shirt on display. We love them. That they have helped us a lot in our pop-up events throughout the county. So we're grateful for them to show us love and put this up in there. But I say that because, I tell all the guys that work there, you ever get a long sleeve Betty's shirt, I got to be your first call. But no, I do have a great appreciation for kits. It sounds cliche, but when they get it right, and when it's not overcomplicating. I love details, but I don't like getting lost in the details. I like when the details help tell the overarching story, and that's what I think this kit does.
Yeah, and this leads into my next little fun question. You kind of mentioned long sleeves. Long sleeve, short sleeve, and why isn't there a long sleeve option? I'm saying it's New York. It does get chilly up there. I'm just saying. Imagine commuting in the winter or in the fall, and it's a little brisk. A little long sleeve.
I'm not going to say too much, but I will say that discussions have, the gears are turning. There's a world. I won't make any promises. Biasly, I'd love to have one. At the end of the day, it's up to the players, in my opinion. But I would love to have, both options, whether that's for our home kit, this kit, a new kit next year. It's definitely something we're open to and considering. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe this isn't my last kit. We'll see.
I like that answer. A, it's not a no, and B, we might be able to see more, which I do appreciate. And as Frank noted, all I heard were promises from Mason. So you heard it here. We will hold you to it. But no, as you said, at the end of the day, the players got to feel comfortable wearing them. And I do know sometimes I've heard even a collar can sometimes make people somewhat a little bit more uncomfortable to the kind of chafes at the neck a little bit, even long sleeve. But yet I see some people wearing, like I saw at the World Cup, someone wearing long sleeves in like 95-degree weather. So it's honestly a vibe.
Some guys insist on it. I was that player in high school. I played my whole childhood, and we had long sleeve home kits, and I wish the away kits were the same. And I'm sure some of our players, maybe there's issues with, our home kits don't have a collar and these other two do. And I don't, know all the nuances, and obviously you can't please everybody, but it's definitely something to think about in terms of building continuity, but at the same time, taking chances and veering off the path a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, as we kind of alluded to it, that's what the third kit's kind of for, right?
Exactly.
I always say your home kit is your home kit. You know what's going to be. I'm not going to disparage Tottenham too much, but you already know what a Tottenham home kit's supposed to look like.
Exactly.
Then the away kit, it does its job.
Yeah.
Just to not clash. And then the third, have fun with it.
You can go off the rails.
Yes,
exactly.
Go off the rails, especially in this case of the train.
Go off the rails, but stay on the train, please.
Yes. So, I just wanted to, again, just say congrats on this as being your first kit. I really like to see more. And
let's keep the Canva going.
Yeah, keep the Canva subscription active, please.
I'm going to stick to what I do best. Olivia's going to do what she does best. And together, I think we make a great team. And hopefully I have the opportunity to make a new one.
Yes, I will definitely love, that partnership has worked out. And it's produced one of my favorites of the year as a train nerd and also a collar nerd.
Thank you.
I'm just saying it's right up my vibe. I joked with Olivia when she was on that the amount of callers is just like a calling card to us here on the show, just because Ashton that for years. And now everybody has a collar, which I appreciate. So I get to wear it to my work. So
yeah, it's a lifestyle piece. That's what exactly. I'm saying.
You did it.
What I gave you a couple visuals of what that person can look like and where that can be. But another one, man, like, yes, if you saw the release we did, there's a businessman commuter on his computer on the train, which was me, which I have no acting experience, and that was not supposed to be part of it, but here we are. Things happen. But I'm obsessing over the vision of someone wearing some dolled up jacket, coming out of a meeting, and then they unbutton and you see this underneath, because it really can be a lifestyle piece, whether it's on a casual Friday, whether that's, they're going out to the golf course. I don't know. Some clubs might have issues with that, but still just, this is not a one-trick pony. It's a very versatile shirt. It's a fashion item. It's a sports jersey, and it's everything in between. And it's everything you want to make it. So I'm just grateful it turned out the way it did.
Yeah, as you said, it's good that's multi-purpose because I like to make my money worth it. And if I'm buying something, whatever that value is, I want to be able to wear it to as many possible things as possible that I feel like it's suited. Because I like to actually wear my collection, unlike some people. So, I'm not calling you out.
No, I'm saying it's weird that people don't wear their shirts.
Oh yeah. That's weird to me. But
totally.
That's not for me.
I mean, all the more reason to have as many settings as possible because, I'm grateful for anyone who's gonna pay their hard-earned money for this shirt I made, but I'm more so grateful because I hate to say it, but they're walking billboards, if you will. They are helping tell our story. Sure. I hope this is interesting enough that it raises some questions. People, what is that? Oh, Westchester soccer.
Yes,
Westchester
exactly.
what? You have a pro soccer team here? Yeah, check them out. So yeah, it's a marketing piece very much, and it's a lifestyle piece, and it's a pro soccer jersey.
That was the probably the smartest deal that you all did was going with Hummel because they do that so well.
Yeah,
I'm a Louisville City fan. We have been with Adidas. We have been with Puma, or we're with Puma now. And I feel like even our gear, yes, it's nice. It's Adidas gear. It's Puma gear. It's good quality, generally speaking. But I don't feel like we're representing the city. We're not walking billboards. It's just another Adidas T-shirt that every Adidas team has. It's another Puma T-shirt that every Puma team has. Unless you're Man City, which I'm wearing, but
yeah.
You're just going to get the same Puma shirt. So
exactly. And in the design process with Olivia and the Hummel team, they're all about learning the story. Yes, I presented them a couple different designs and concepts, but they asked a lot of questions about why and what's the overarching goal here and what story are we really trying to tell. And I think they hit the nail on the head.
I'd say so. And Olivia did warn us that there are a bunch of third kits coming out. And if this is just a precursor, don't be kind of a high bar to surpass this. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, she was talking about this one.
Yeah, she was? Oh, good.
Don't worry.
Good.
My wallet's going to be worried. That's the issue.
I just got to ask you how, also, I think we kind of talked about it, but on Wednesday, last night at the match, how was it seeing you said people were buying it. How were people wearing the kits, and how was it seeing that something that, in your case, I made, but now person who I don't know is wearing it? Is that surreal?
I appreciate you asking that question. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty damn cool. More so. And before I get into it, if you don't mind me just plugging a couple people to thank in this process. Rachel Ross, our head of social media, she's been instrumental in helping us tell this story. I'd also really want to thank Ari Quick and Close, who's my boss, who gave me this opportunity in the first place and, said there is an opportunity if you want to go for it. And I really want to highlight Ari because I was talking to him during the game. And, when fans started coming in the gates, a lot of our intern team our match day interns were wearing the kit. And I was like, Ari, respectfully, I'm glad they're promoting it, but we only have, X amount to sell. And if they're wearing it, we would never repackage that to sell to another fan. And he looked at me and said, no, dude, they bought it. And to get that support from internally, just, a lot of them in the process and I showed them some sneak peeks of what it was going to look like. And they're like, oh, this is so cool and everything. And, oh, people are going to love this. Respectfully, I thought a lot of them were saying that just because, I oversee them. But then to actually see, them wearing it themselves and the amount of people in the stadium, we sold through between a third and a half of our inventory on opening night. So, you better be sure as hell that we're ordering quite a few more. I'm going to be talking to Olivia tomorrow because, it's a hit, which means I've done my job in some capacity, but it's just great to see people wearing it, the players especially. And, seeing them score and celebrate together. And then it all really hit me when I got home and I was just going through all the social recaps of it all and everything. And then, as I mentioned, you know, that UK guy, for example, I saw in a random Twitter comment section, and, you know, just people, other outlets are picking it up. Like Goal USA posted about it today. And, you know, they got 150,000 followers on Instagram and they want to tell our story. You know, my boss pointed out to me, if you just go to the top of their feed, they had, you know, a video about, you know, a post about Jamar Chase and Stephen A. Smith and, you know, Lamine Yamal, and that my kit that I designed was right next to them. And to see it having that sort of impact was just really fulfilling and not something I ever expected. I was just grateful that we crossed the finish line. At the same time, I wasn't fully present during the match because, you know, yes, brand is part of what I do, but I'm the director of partnerships, and we had quite a few corporate partners out there. We had a new VIP sponsor, Atlantic Tomorrow's Office, out there. I was entertaining plenty of guests, making sure all of our partners were happy and whatnot. I did get to see a couple of the goals, which was great. Shout out Kyle Evans, had a beautiful ball, and he was one of our actors, and he did such a great job and was so cooperative and put up with everything we asked of him. So I'm just really happy with how the night turned out. And, you know, as I said, sports about people, and all the people in the stadium. You know, it's something that was left with me, and I'll never forget last night.
I love that, you know, obviously you got the reception and you're aware of it. As you kind of mentioned, here's some goalies say on Instagram, you see it, all their stuff, and right there on the right is the kit that you helped design.
Yeah.
Kind of insane levels, right?
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I can't lie. I didn't a year ago, if you told me this would happen, I'd think you're crazy. But you know, life happens sometimes, and I'm grateful for where we are.
Yeah. So I will say, just soak it in. Congratulations from us. We were big fans of it. And just soak in kind of this, I don't know, fun high, I guess.
Yeah. I'm gonna ride it as long as I can.
and we appreciate taking your time, especially during this really fun time, to really just chat with us.
Totally. Thank you so much for having me on. And you know, maybe in a couple months from now, we might be talking about another shirt. Who knows?
Couple months.
Hey, we are called KitSZN, and we joke it never ends.
Oh, it's always KitSZN in Westchester.
Cool. Yes. Thank you. I love that. So are there any additional shout outs you want to give out, or any little tidbits that you wanted to mention here as we kind of wrap things up here?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd love to thank Mitch Barukowitz, our principal owner. I'm not just, you know, brown nosing him right now. He was the one who gave me the opportunity. Mitch gave me his approval, which at the end of the day is the final say in everything we do. And, you know, he worked alongside me with Olivia and with our Hummel reps. And it was, you know, he let me drive the boat a little bit, which I am so grateful for, because it's his boat, you know. I'd also love to shout out John Goldman, our club president, who, yes, is the reason I'm involved with the club in the first place. But if you don't know who John Goldman is, he, you know, has played a pivotal role in two of the most fashionable clubs in the world, Venezia and Athens Calathea. And I didn't ask his opinion once when I was designing a jersey, which, you know, could have put me in the hot seat. But it's been a great reception with how the kits turned out. And then, yeah, again, I'd love to just thank Ari for giving me the opportunity, Rachel for helping me tell the story, and honestly, my dad too. He's a big designer, and this is, you know, his forte. I got this from his side of the family, and, you know, he's the kind of guy who will make T-shirts for any sort of occasion, whether it's my college graduation, whether it's someone's birthday. You know, oh, we gotta have T-shirts, gotta make shirts, and, you know, what makes a good T-shirt? I don't know. Candidly, I've seen him make some not so good ones, but a good T-shirt is something that, you know, you're gonna double take, and when I walk past you, you're gonna turn around and see if there's anything on the back. And I'm really happy with the final product, and I'm grateful to all the people I mentioned and anyone else who I haven't, just for putting me in this position.
I love that. I also shout out to Karen, who helped set this up.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Yes, because it was all because I inquired about the city, the corner of the county kit, and here we are, like 2 weeks later. Yeah. So before we wrap things up, we got to do our favorite segment on the show, our second favorite segment of the show, and that is the kit show off. So Mason, you are a guest. Let's have you show off your kit one more time for everybody else.
I hope you don't see too much of my room. It's kind of a mess, and I'm a bit zoomed in. But yes, you got your Hudson line over here. I guess it's all flipped because I'm facing a reverse camera. But you got your Hudson line, you got your Harlem line coming right down the middle. Yes. You got your New Haven line, which I take a lot of pride in. As I said, I'm a Connecticut resident, but I'm represented on this shirt right here in Stamford. So, you know, it speaks to Westchester County, but it also speaks to a lot more than that. You got, you know, there's commuters anywhere. We have Liros, one of our amazing partners on the sleeve, as well as that golden apple we touched on, with the 914 being at the core of everything we do. And then, there's, I don't know how I'm going to do this. There's on the back, it says, "We are Westchester," which is near and dear to us. That's another little tidbit, just a final reminder to the players when they go out there on the field, you know, who they're doing it for, who they're representing. And then the very, very famous tag everyone keeps talking about.
Yes, I love that little tag.
This is not my best angle, but the city is closer than you think. You got a little train car, you got a little apple, you got 914 as the cab number. Yes. It's just another little tidbit, as well as, you know, the underlay that we spoke about earlier. And don't forget about the silicone crest. That might be my favorite part of it all.
See, you did it too. 3D crest, our crest porn. Thank you, everybody who listens to us. The kit looks great.
Oh yeah, no brainer.
No brainer. So I'm rocking a train themed kit myself.
I had some questions about that. Yeah, it definitely got my attention.
It's a little bit more loud than yours is, but it's Boston's. It's from an amateur team up there called Athletical Boston. And I got it from my friends up there at Piazza. So, and it's a long sleeve. So it's it's like a purple black with their little train line. I don't quite have another train one, so I wanted to kind of fit in with tonight's theme.
We'll get one in your collection. Don't you worry about that.
Botsy, what you rocking tonight? I don't see any trains.
See, honestly, it's funny though, because I did choose this for that reason though, because it's a lightning kit, which again, Louisville fan, and they just came out with a lightning kit, and this is something you could have easily done better because it's the same company, but still. But I felt like there's like a lot of lines and stuff, train lines going through it. It's my mentality. So, and it's also long sleeve, and it's always cooled in my basement. So
that we fit the long sleeve vibes. I'll let it pass for tonight. It didn't fit that train vibes, but it's right along the same train of thought.
I guess I missed the long sleeve message.
Yeah.
Hey, as you said, you already maybe having some of that gears turning. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I might not miss it next year. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, Mason, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. I definitely got to hit up a match up there in Mount Vernon, in Westchester. I love New York. I got to make another trip out there anyways. So, but yeah, thank you so much.
Totally.
Bots, anything else before we to do shot here?
Support your local teams.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For the county, baby. Guys, really grateful for you having me on tonight and just helping us tell this story, because, you know, that's, as anyone who's watched this video today can get, that's what this is all about, telling our story. And I really appreciate what you guys do about, you know, telling the story for other local teams. And, you know, this is how we grow the game here in the States. I don't know if it'll ever, you know, mimic how it's played in Europe, but it doesn't have to. It's, you know, we're telling our story, you know, that kind of leans back into everything we've been talking about. But I really appreciate the time and you guys letting me come on here.
Anytime. You're always welcome back, especially if you create another kit down the road. Just saying.
I'll see what I can do. Hopefully ownership is pleased and they'll give me another shot.
Hey, hopefully so, because we like what you've done, as well as most fans, based off the sales you were telling me about last night.
Well, thank you,
sir. Mason, thank you so much, and appreciate everybody for tuning in here for tonight. We don't have another interview scheduled, but we will have a nice guest next week to let us continue on our never-ending journey to rate kits across the biggest league in the world. So thank you, everybody, so much. Fox, happy birthday. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see everybody next week. Thank you. Have a good night.